There's a lot of things I love about our property. My family moved around all over the South. My father was a doctor, and this farm was the place we always had. It was really, truly our home away from home, the kind of a security place where we always knew we could come back to. We always look at the land as being kind of a sacred place to us, partly because it was something so special to my father. He built 2 log cabins on the property, and it was his escape as well. And so he bought the first tract in 1949, and then bought an adjacent tract a few years later and combined the two. It's now almost 1,700 acres. My father always wanted to protect the property and see it never divided. But he died really before he could figure out a way to do that. Conservation easements were really, people didn't know much about conservation easements, and really that would have been the clear and obvious solution to what he kind of wanted to do. So he had talked about preserving it by other means, like giving it to a university, establishing a wilderness through the Forest Service. But he never kind of came up with a crystallized plan, and then died. Within 5 years after his death, 2 of my sisters said, who weren't as interested in the property, said, "We want out." And we had this big farm, but we didn't have a lot of cash to be able to, do that. But we had to. So one of the things we did was we sold a separate piece of land to the Nature Conservancy to establish a preserve. And for the other sister, we ended up selling timber. So we got those 2 people out of the ownership, so we could consolidate the ownership into people who kind of had like interests. So after we did that, we established a conservation easement on the entire property with the Nature Conservancy. So they hold an easement, and they own 200 acres of our old property right next to it, so it makes a lot of sense. I think that one thing was probably the biggest achievement we have, because that way it does protect the property from future division, which was a huge goal. The next generation consists of 2 cousins, my son Ches and my brother's son Miles, who lives up there. My son lives in Richmond. By going through this whole process, and we walked the fork and looked at it and talked about conservation, I think he actually took some real ownership in the property at 19. Maybe they don't get any great financial benefits, but the big benefit they get is they have this land that will be theirs. They will be the 3rd generation, something they can be very proud of.